My name is Lady Joy. I'm 25 years old, born and raised in South Africa. Anyone South African here? No? All right, I thought I'd get lucky, you know what I mean? I might find South Africans here. My father's an educator, so he's been moving around. So lived in South Africa, moved to Miami, Long Island, New York, Pittsburgh, Toronto, Melbourne, Australia. And now, living currently in Atlanta, hopefully for longer than the places where I've lived before. I teach 4th to 8th grade. We have a more Montessori style school where I have 4th to 6th graders in one classroom, 6th to 8th graders in another classroom. So it's very multi-age, multi-level learning. But the best part of my life is married to the girl of my dreams, 2.5 years. She everything to me, and we're actually expecting our first child today. So if I have to run out of here, if I get a phone call in the middle, you guys know I told him to wait at least till 12 o'clock. So hopefully we'll get through. So anyways, I actually missed the beginning part of today. I was teaching this morning, came here now, I'm going to go back to teaching after. But does anyone here ever raise their hand know who the master teacher or the teacher leader was? So in classrooms, teachers are standing in front of the class. We want to assess our students. Many times we're faced with an exact same scenario as this. We'll ask a question to our class, who knows the answer to this in this question? And no one will raise their hand. You'll have a couple people, students raise their hand. You'll have some students don't even know if they should be or should not be raising their hands. So how do we properly assess our students in the middle of our class right away? Because there are a couple of other issues with that format of assessing. First of all, you can't say whoever raises their hand must know the answer, because some people don't. And those that don't raise their hands as well may know the answer, but are too shy and too embarrassed to raise their hand and answer. I'm sure some of you in this room know the answer to who the master teacher was, but waiting around, looking around to see who else is going to say. So using smart technology, which is what this board is what you have to program your laptop, there is a different method to assess students in the classroom. What it is a program which is called Shout It Out. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that. Shout It Out is a method, which is a way, and we're going to actually do it ourselves soon, where every student has their own device. So in my classroom we use Kindles, and they log on to my classroom lesson, and it's completely anonymous on their end, which means they write their name, but whenever they submit their answers, and they all show up on the board, it's completely anonymous. So therefore, number one, every student needs to participate, because I'll see exactly how many students have answered, and every student is involved. Number two, no one's embarrassed anymore to say their answer. No one feels ashamed to get it right, to get it wrong, because no one knows. For me, after the class, I'll go and I'll download the Excel spreadsheet of it, where I can see exactly who knew, who didn't know, who I need to sit with and work with, who I need to review or not. But that way it helps in that form of assessment in a classroom, where you get it instantly. And all right, no problem. So we're actually going to do that ourselves right now. So if everyone can take out their smartphone, their laptop, any device that they may have, and we're going to all answer, and remember, please don't put your real name. Put a fake name. I don't want anyone here to think that there's a way I'm going to be able to track you. I'm not going to say I can't go to your IP address. But if everyone could please go to this website, hellosmart.com, and type in that code, 132201, and you can put in a fake name, put in any name that you would like. So my students, when they would be doing this, they would be taking out their Kindles, and they'd be logging on to this website, hellosmart.com, and the option for them to put this class in, and then their name. Just since they all have their own individualized number of Kindles, their names are usually saved. And there we go. We have one connected student. Teacher. If anyone needs help, please let me know. I'm more than happy to help. Yes. So we're going to start. Type in hellosmart.com. So we got 3 people. 16. Yes. Oh, yeah, so without the E. had students go to healthsmart.com. That's a really interesting vision, but we changed that. We got 7, 3, 6, 16. Anyone else need help getting in? Yes. Yes. Oh no, it should just go straight to the website, healthsmart.com. So not through Google search. Right up there. Just hang on. I'm sorry. Right up there. Yes. No, you just put it straight up there by the URL. There. Healthsmart.com. Anyone else need help? No problem. We only got to do this once. So. Come up here, put in your class ID. 132201. Everyone else logged in? Ready to go? So while we're waiting for everyone else to finish logging in, the question I would like you all to answer, and remember, it's completely anonymous, is what is your goal as an educator, or what is your goal in connection with whatever you do involved with your students? And if you don't have a personal one for yourself, what do you believe the goal of educators should be? What do you believe we should be doing as educators? What should our goal be? We all know it's not to make money, right? We're not just involved because of that. But what is our goal as educators? Everyone else signed in? All right, the activity is going to start, and you should find space now for you to be able to write on your phones and on your devices. And as you'll see, as you submit, it'll all going to pop up on the screen. So in a classroom, when you have students that are answering a question based on what you're teaching, you'll see as you submit your answers, they will be popping up straight onto the smartboard. So sometimes when you're doing a question, for example, let's say you do 4 plus 4, and if you were to do it the regular way, and someone answers 8, you've lost the ability to assess everyone else. So what you can do as well for this program is you can block out the screen so that no other student can see the other student's answers while they're submitting it. If you think of another goal you have in that, make sure that there are 2 available entries. So if you think of something else you would like to add as well, feel free to add it. We'll give it another 60 seconds for everyone to think about it so you can finish it in the best of your ability. I also use this tool if, for example, I wanted students to tell over a story or a lesson that I taught, for them to use it and say the answers only using emojis, where they have to tell the story, and then as a class, we all have to figure out what story they're telling using those emojis as they answer it. The reason why I also especially like this is because this is the students' world now. They're all on their phones, they're all text, type, and therefore we're taking education and bringing it down to them. That we're taking a regular form of assessment, making it fun, accessible, easy, and it's also great and very beneficial for us. So we'll give it another 10 seconds. And you can do it as well. You can add buzzers to this, and there are many, many different methods that we can use. So, as we can see, as educators, if you look at this board, and as we go, I wish we had time to go through everyone's individually, but you see, and if we click through them, you'll be able to see how amazing, well, how unbelievable goals that we have as educators in this room. And everything that we strive for, day in, day out, every day, Sundays, Saturdays, because some people don't realize how much it takes to actually work as a teacher. So I'd like to share with you a personal, I'm sorry if I missed someone's, I'd like to share with you a personal goal of mine that I strive for every day as an educator. So my personal goal is for my students to come to school happy. I want them waking up in the morning, jumping out of bed, excited to come to school. One reason why I strive to make that my goal is because once the students are happy to be there, it'll be much easier for everything else to follow. It'll be much easier for them to learn. It'll be much easier, hopefully, for them to behave, because they're in a place where they're happy to be. If we were to bring a football player and have them teach the class, you could bet that the kids are waking up that morning excited, ready to come to school, ready to learn, and they're going to do their best to learn from that football player. So for us, we need to strive. My personal goal is for me to strive to be the best football player, so to speak, I can be for these kids, that they're happy to come to school and everything else will follow. There is another reason, which we're going to get to soon. So when I was preparing this class, I came across a very, very mind-blowing statistic. There are 1.2 million students on average that drop out of high school every single year. Now, some of us in this room may be thinking, I have no connection to high school. It's not my fault. I do the best with my students. They're moving up. Nothing to do with me. But once we see the reason for why these students are dropping out, it broke my heart as an educator for why these students are leaving. So everyone can actually go back onto their phone, and we're going to do another activity. This is a little bit different this time. You may have to turn your phone the other way. So I would like everyone in this room to please, to the best of your ability, it should have shown up on your phone now, to write what reasons you think, from top to bottom. The number one reason why students are dropping out of high school. The number two reason, number three reason, number four reason, number five. So this is another feature of the Shout It Out tool that SMART has. If you have the students and you want them to be able to learn their fractions, for example, you can have the students have to put them in their own order. So I set it up in the way now that you'll only be able to see it in yours, and you can actually assess yourself right away to see if you got it right or not so much. And you can try and rearrange them in the order based on your answers for why our high school students, why our students at an alarming rate of 1.2 million a year are dropping out. So, while you're all answering, I'll start putting them into shape. The first reason why students are dropping out of high school is because they're failing. The second reason is because they do not like school. The third reason is they couldn't keep up. The fourth reason is jump. The fifth reason is they have to support the family. This statistic, it shocked me because I always assumed that why are students dropping out? Because they have to get a job, family. But when I saw these top three reasons for why they were leaving, I realized that these three reasons happen in elementary school very often. How many students do we know that are failing? How many students do we know that don't like school? And how many students do we know can't keep up? So they may not drop out of elementary school, but those same students are the ones that end up in high school. Our students end up in high school. And this is what happens. Are we failing in our goals that we all established? Am I failing in my goal? Am I not able to accomplish what is going on? Where is this disconnect? Because I know everyone in this room works day in, day out, blood, sweat, and tears to make their goals accomplished. Everyone does. So where is this disconnect happening? Why is this occurring? So some of you may be wondering why on earth I have a children's toy sitting over there. Maybe it's because getting ready to get the wife has a baby, so I'm taking out our first toy right away. But a couple months ago, I was at my sister's house, and she has 3 boys. And one of the boys, a 3-year-old, named Yisrael, was playing with a toy which looks similar to this. And he was taking his shape, learning his shapes, and trying to fit in where the shapes are going. So eventually he takes the oval, can't really recall which shape it was, use the oval example, and he's trying to fit it in. And for 5 minutes he's going at it, trying to fit the same shape into the wrong space. So I thought to myself, there are 3 possibilities things are going to happen. Either he's going to give up, saying, boring toy, not worth it, it's broken, something's wrong with it. Or he's going to smash it so hard that this cube, that the shape itself is going to break. Or he's going to keep pushing down that eventually the actual cube, the actual game is going to break. As teachers and educators, we find ourselves in a very similar scenario. We'll be asking our students to do something, and we'll be faced with resistance. We'll be faced with a certain level of resistance at times. So, if we continue to push it down into the wrong shape, one of three things are going to happen. Either the teacher's going to give up on the student, worthless, broken cause, helpless. Or the student is going to break, the student's going to lose confidence, the student's going to consider themselves a failure. Or the game breaks, the school breaks for the student. The student will hate coming to school. The student will hate the class, for example. The student hates a certain subject. That could be wiped over. So the question is, though, we're all educators, of course we want to do what's best for our students. And I know some of you are thinking that, what can I do? I have a certain class I have to teach. I have a certain subject I have to pass. There's a certain curriculum I need to follow. I can't start changing the curriculum for every single child. So I just want to clarify that I'm not advocating for students and for you to go and change your subjects and give up on them. But rather, to take the same subject and look at it in a different way. Flip it around. Look at it in a different angle till you find the shape, till you find the space for that individual child. So the question still remains, why don't we do that? Why don't we, and we're going to see that, why don't some of us flip this around and find a way for our students? Why don't we continuously find the right path that fits the shape for our students? Now, I'm not saying that anyone in this room does that, but I'm saying for any educators or people that may have that, and may struggle with that, what's going on? So to borrow a concept from the degree of journalism, I'm finishing my master's in industrial organizational psychology. The reason why I chose that as my education is because I really believe that running your classroom and motivating your students is the exact same way you need to run your business, and you need to motivate your employees. So I thought, what better way to learn that than learning from the business world? So one of the theories, I'll just hand out if you want to see it. One of the theories of motivating employees is called McGregor's Theory X and Theory Y. Theory X assumes, and Theory X believes, that employees and people inherently dislike work and will try to avoid it. People need to be coerced, people need to be punished in order for them to be motivated to do what they need to do. Theory Y, on the other hand, believes that people naturally want to do good. People naturally want to be challenged. People will exercise self-direction and self-control. So it's two completely opposite ways of looking at employees. And the difference will be as follows, is if you're managing your employees or coaching them, what's the difference? If the manager is trying to manage their employees and have their employees motivated to do something, and they're facing resistance, if you're judging it and you're looking at them through the lens of Theory X, what you're going to believe is that they're being lazy, they're trying to get out of work. And therefore, what's my solution? Their shape needs to change. And I'm going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing from a top-down approach, doing what I want them to do. And they're the ones that need to be managed and need to be changed. They're the ones that have to be molded and pushed and forced into the places. It says to be using punishment. That's a form of managing. You're managing them to do what you want them to do. Theory Y, on the other hand, believes that this shape is perfect the way it is. This shape is the most unique, best shape that it can be. Now, if there's resistance, it's nothing to do with the shape. It's nothing to do with this employee. This employee really wants to work. But rather, it has to do with how they're being placed in the game. It has to do with how they are being placed into the shape. And in that case, a person would coach their employees and help their employees find the right space that fits for them to do it. So in education, many times, sometimes, some think about their students through the lens of theory X. When they're faced with resistance, they don't even consider that there's another shape for that student. We don't even consider it because the student's probably being lazy, doesn't want to work, wants to get out of it. And therefore we keep pushing. Versus if we look at our students and say every one of our students is the most unique and best shape out there. They are the best. It'll be up to us to help find the path for them to be able to fit into the shape. So there are 3 practical ways we can do this in the classroom. The first way is to differentiate expectations while showing mastery on their level. What that means is as follows. And when you teach a class, you can teach the same concept, but for some students, you can ask them and you can expect them to know everything by heart and be able to write their own test in it. For some students, you just have to know that they were listening and got one word out of that statement. That helps every student show mastery and be the best that they can be on their level. The second way is through Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences. I have the printout here. Through the different ways that people learn, the different intelligences that we have to make sure that our lessons all fit in with that. And the last way is to show and to use the word yet, which means that you have hope in your student, which means you may not know this yet. So when a student is faced with that resistance, many times they become discouraged. It's just not working out for me. Math or English is just not my subject. This is just not for me. And they become discouraged because of that. But if we use the word yet, that no, there is a space for you. There is a space. We're going to find it because you are the best you could be. You are the most unique, amazing person. We're going to find that space for you. That will help to keep them motivated. That will give them the confidence they need. So just to tell you 3 quick stories about where this was applied. In class, I had this girl in my class for the last 3 years. She is a brilliant child. She has a memory and is able to recall anything that she learned in 2nd grade onwards, and sometimes it gets me into trouble. She remembers last year you said this year. And she's got an unbelievable memory. However, when I began teaching her, and it came time for tests, which you think she would be unbelievably excited for, she would call in sick that day. She would take the test, not answer a single question. She would say, I need more time to take it at home and hopefully forget about it. And it blew my mind, why was she doing this? She's an amazing memory. What's going on? So if you're looking at her, and if we're judging her through the lens of theory X, she's being lazy. She wants to avoid tests. And you've got to keep punishing her, probably keep giving her zeros. And hopefully she'll learn that you got to take tests. Versus theory Y, that no, she knows what she's doing. She's a brilliant child. Maybe the test isn't the right shape for her. Let's try and figure this out. So I sat down with her, and we eventually came up with a solution. She happens to as well be a brilliant artist. So instead of her writing the answers, which was giving her that anxiety, she's going to know it or not, I said instead, she can draw the answers. She can draw a comic. She can draw a story, which will show that she's mastered that information, but it's something which she loves doing. And she took off with it, and she flew with it. She went, she drew answers, she drew more than she had to, she drew the test and everything else that she learned, because she was so happy that she was put in the shape that she was meant to do. But now many of you may be thinking, okay, that's great. But what happens when she gets to high school and she's got to take the SAT test, which is one single way? What happens when she gets to a different type of test where it can't be switched like that? So I'm happy to say that because she was put in her shape the way she fits, it gave her the confidence to believe in herself, and now she doesn't do that anymore. Now she's taking tests regularly, writing them, exactly the way that she could, because she believes in herself now as that shape. The second story is a very similar one, where we have in the Jewish school which I teach in, we have a Bible class which is called Chumash, and there's 2 parts of it. There's the Hebrew language aspect of it, reading and translating, and then there is the content aspect of it, to understand the storyline. So I had a student that, as well, hated that class. So you have 2 options. Either theory X, they're hating it because they're lazy, or theory Y, maybe we're taking this class in a different shape that has to be fit for them. So after speaking with this child, we realized that his fear of reading and translating and getting it wrong was, again, holding him back and even learning about the content because the grades were combined. So what we did is we ended up separating the grades into 2 separate grades, the reading and translating, the content. And for him in the beginning, we only made him responsible for the content while doing the reading and translating orally with him. Once he saw himself succeeding at the content, he found the confidence that he needed to continue on and find where he is today to do the reading and translating. And the last short story is I teach in the morning classes, and I had this boy student who would misbehave during my class, but yet in the afternoon classes he was extremely well behaved. So if you're looking at it through the lens of Theory X, he doesn't like me, maybe I'm not a good teacher for him, he just needs to be put into place, I need to keep sending him out, versus Theory Y, no. Let's try and find the right shape that fits for him. And although this has been similar to the one that fits with him, I found out after much, much digging that he wasn't eating breakfast in the morning. And that's why after lunch he was behaving, because after he's had his lunch, he's full now, ready to learn. And in the morning in my class, it was just a simple thing. He didn't eat breakfast. But if I wouldn't know that there was another shape for him, that solution never would have happened. So now the problem is, although we all in our room are living to do and want the best for our students as Theory Y, that we all want to find that shape. For some reason, as we saw in the beginning with the high school students, there's that disconnect between the message. That from our efforts, and we're putting that goal, it seems like the students aren't necessarily seeing that in 100%. So what's going on? There's a concept which is how we live. Are we living for our resumes or for our eulogies? What does that mean? When you have a resume, and some of you may be familiar with this concept, when you have a resume, you're filling it up day by day by day by day. I think hopefully not day by day, but hopefully years as it goes along. Year by year by year, you're filling it up as things happen. Versus a eulogy, after you pass, or hopefully no one in this room will pass, but eventually when other people pass away, and people have to stand around saying a eulogy about them, those eulogies are accomplishments of things that they've accomplished throughout their entire life. So the question is, how do we live? Do we take every day as it comes? One day we'll be in the mood for this, one day we'll be in the mood for that. Or are we living for our eulogies? Do we have a goal in mind of what we want others to say, so to speak, about our eulogy? He was a kind person. She was a nice person. He ended world hunger. She caused... And when we focus and we live that way, every single action that we take will be to accomplish that goal. When we have a goal in our mind, let's say, for example, to be a kind person, that's what we want our eulogy to be, every action that we take will be, and every choice that we have will to be and to fulfill that goal. So when we, as educators, want to live with Theory Y for our students, or we want to show our students that you guys are the best, and you have to know that you're not a failure, not only that, you are a perfect shape. Are we living with that as a resume or a eulogy? Do we want to know, so to speak, that we care about our students with that theory? And if we make that our eulogy, every interaction we have in and out the classroom will be in line with that theory. Because Theory Y doesn't only apply to the classroom, it can apply to our interactions with everyone around us. For example, we all know that one person or two people that they're just not a kind person, just a mean person. They're not so funny. They're versus looking at them in that way, where you say, Theory X, that's who they are. And I can not talk to them, I can fight with them until eventually they change who they are. Versus Theory Y, that no, they are great people. Maybe the situation that they're in, maybe something that's happening around them is causing them to be the way they are. In Hebrew, this is called dan l'kaf zchus, which means to judge everyone favorably. The question is, how do we judge everyone favorably? People are nice, people are mean. It doesn't excuse their actions, but by understanding that their situation, that the shape that maybe they're being forced into is causing them to be the way they are, that can explain a lot of their behavior. It doesn't excuse it. So, do we as educators want to be managing our students as Theory X? We are trying to change them to fit what we want them to do. Or are we living with Theory Y, where we want our students to know that they are the best students they are, and we're going to help them find the shape and the path that fits for them to give them the confidence they need. So while we finish up, because we are running a little bit out of time, everyone can go back onto their phones. And remember, this is completely anonymous. I want you to spend just 2 minutes thinking about, if everyone logged out, that's okay, what you are living for. If you don't want to write it on here, that's okay. You can just think about it. I see a lot of people did sign out. So to think to yourselves, what are you living for? What are your, so to speak, eulogy? What is your goal, as we said in the beginning? What do you want to be known as? What impact do you want to make on this world? What impact do you want to make on your students? What impact do you want to be? And that's why my goal, as I said in the beginning, was for my students to love coming to school. Because they already love coming to school. They already want to be. And they already are the shape that they are. They already are happy, and this theory Y says, to be here. I just have to make sure I don't get in the way. I just have to make sure that I keep that going and help them find the right space that fits them. And through all of us, this is the famous story with the starfish. There's a man walking along the beach, and he sees this girl standing there bending down, picking up something and throwing it into the water. And he goes over to this girl and he says, "What's going on? What are you doing?" And the girl says, "There was a storm last night and all these starfish washed up. So I'm throwing them back in the water." The man takes a look behind him, looks in front of him, and says, "What do you mean? There's so many of them." You can't really put them all back. You can't really make a difference to them all. So the girl picks up a starfish, throws it in, and says, "I may not make a difference to all of them, but I definitely made a difference to that one." So with all of us and our capabilities, that we should look at every one of our students as that starfish. That we should focus on making a difference in their life. We should focus on helping them know that they can be the best they can be. And through that, you never know how much you may change the world and help them be the best person that they can be. Thank you very much. Just as that was my first presentation I've ever given, so I'm sure you can tell. I'll take this off the board. I would really, really appreciate it as a person. I would love to grow. I want to be the best I can be. If you have a minute before you go to your next thing, if not, it's totally okay. Just to leave me some feedback on the Shout It Out tool. 1 second.